Welcome to another episode of Money 911, where we bring heart and healing to your finances. I'm your host, Kris, and today's show is for anyone who's faced what feels like the end and is ready to find a new beginning. We're not just talking about numbers, we're talking about lives transformed, hearts restored, and legacies reborn. Our guest today, a true phoenix, Michael Russell, from what seemed like the perfect life to devastating financial collapse. And now, a man of deep wisdom, resilience, and purpose. Today, he opens his heart to share his journey through foreclosures, bankruptcy, shame, and ultimately rebirth. Get ready for a raw, real, and redemptive conversation that could shift your entire mindset around money and meaning. All right, Michael, it's an honor and pleasure to have you here and talk about all of those exciting things that you know about foreclosures.
Okay, outstanding. I'm glad to be here.
You know, I'm sure in the silence after you really losing everything, what is it that you heard that, maybe not financially, maybe more spiritually or emotionally? What got you going to rebuild? Because after, you lose, you crash, there's a lot of negativity that you got to go through. What was it that pushed you to dive a little bit deeper?
Sure. Well, geez, to start, I would say that it was probably my ego that wouldn't allow me to fail, right? But
Right.
that was pretty thin, and I really didn't like the way that failing made me feel.
Right.
But I was really far more concerned back then about how I thought perhaps others perceived me
Right.
after failure. And that really wasn't a sustainable motivation, right? Because it's not particularly real and it certainly doesn't matter in real life. Yeah, so, but I would say it was probably close to 7 or 8 years after facing foreclosure and going through bankruptcy that I really started to figure anything out for myself. A big part of my story is sobriety. And so if I certainly wouldn't have turned my life around if I hadn't figured that path out.
Yeah.
And so, by the grace of God, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
We just can't. And usually, what I experience, it usually takes me some catastrophic thing to even change because
yeah,
we're
sure.
so stuck in the ego and we're so stuck in that we know everything or we're God, but we're not.
Yeah,
And
that's
we
for
need
sure.
we need help.
Yeah,
And we all fall to addictions. I've been there, done that myself too. And but it takes special, receivership really to stand up again and walk forward. And a lot of people think that it's the end of the road, and I'm trying to inspire people because really I think we're on the brink of something that's worse than 2008. Don't want to ruin your day, but
mm,
this the currency, the global thing that's happening isn't just our country anymore, right?
yeah,
It used to be, you could vote this. It doesn't work like that. It's a global thing, and they're trying to change the money system. And so there's a lot of insecurity around, and it's going to change a lot of what people really realize and understand. So you said real rebuilding doesn't really start until you change the ways you thought, right? Maybe
sure.
share one of your first beliefs that you had to let go of to heal yourself and heal your finances.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, speaking to that, the idea of worrying about what I think other people think, that was certainly, it's really a juvenile mindset. It kind of belongs in high school,
Right.
right? It's the reality of it. But I created a lot of damage in my family.
Mm,
through my decisions and my behaviors and my action, I created a lot of collateral damage. And it took me the better part of 10 years to solve that and to remedy that damage, both financially, but far more importantly, emotionally and relationally.
right.
Um, and I was never able to make a living amends with my father. He died before I could do that, and so that had a grave effect on me, and I did everything in my power to turn my focus towards my mom, who is still here, and I made it a very high priority for me to take care of her in every way humanly possible. Because I certainly owed her. You know, she bailed me out on countless occasions without a stitch of judgment or even a question.
Right.
And so those things, though, that's what would become true sustainable motivations for me. Was to remedy the collateral damage that I myself had created in my life. And only after I really finished working on that did I pay really any attention to remedying my own and my own financial damage.
Right.
And so that process took a long time. You know, it took the better part of a decade, to fix those kinds of things. And then, once I turned my life around in every fashion possible, really, I just decided that, I had a whole bunch of useless real estate knowledge in my mind for the last 30 years. You know, I've been doing this for 30 years now. And it's pretty elementary to me at this point how to fight back against foreclosure and how to help people communicate effectively with their lender. And so I guess I'm doing this work because I turned my life around. I keep doing it so I can play a small role in helping other people turn their lives around because that's tremendously rewarding to me.
That's the only motivation that I'm literally working retired myself, right? Is taking what I've learned and be able to help people, bridge the troubled waters. So,
Sure.
it's a big deal. And shame, our own shame can be louder than debt, and especially when you have the emotional relationship with mom or dad. And, I don't believe in death, that we really are all connected. And it's really good that we clear all of those things, whether they're here or present or they're not, that you be able to process that. How did you quiet that voice inside it and begin to reclaim your worth?
Long process, certainly not one step involved. It's a function of all different things. It's a function of certainly an increased spirituality, which I didn't have most of my life. You said it earlier on that I spent most of my life thinking I was God.
Right.
And
Right.
I,
We
I
all do.
certainly acted that way.
Yeah.
And so I stopped believing that. And I took all the necessary steps to really do a solid inventory of myself as a human being, which I had never really done before. And I think that, the practice that I went through to turn my life around is something that I often wish everyone in the world went through. I think that we'd all be better people. Um, Maybe that's not the right way to say it,
Well, I
but
get it. If
yeah,
the process is turning yourself around and a lot of hard knocks or whatever it
sure.
takes, first of all, we got to forgive ourselves and
Yeah,
forgive
sure.
others. And forgiveness, I mean, I couldn't get out of where I'm at without forgiveness. There's just no way around
Yeah.
it. And
The
and
hardest one was forgiving myself.
yeah,
Forgiving other people that always came relatively simple, but forgiving myself was really probably the hardest path. And it took an immense amount of time and work, and I couldn't be more grateful to have gone through that arduous, somewhat painful process of kind of re-self-identifying. Where I meet a lot of people every week, dozens of people, 50 people a month, and they are riddled with misplaced shame and guilt and remorse.
Right.
And financial crisis has a way of doing that. And but I'm a firm believer that struggle is, we all face it, and it's a chapter. It's not the whole story.
That's a great way to put it. It's just a chapter, right?
That's really what it is. Yeah.
That's it. And if you could maybe give like one sacred soul saving piece of advice to someone that's just staring at foreclosure right now, what would you tell them?
Um, be wiser than me, right? So it there are so many things at play. It's the human condition that stops people from standing up and facing um, the struggles that they are facing. And the very last thing in the world any of us think when you have a debtor, a creditor coming after you, is that that creditor is actually the person who can help you solve this problem. And so I have seen countless dining room tables filled with unopened mail from the last 2 years that are so reflective of the human condition.
Mm.
And the simple fact that we tell ourselves, I know there's not a love note in there. It's not good news, so why open it? Well, of course, in hindsight, I would learn myself that the answers to my problems are at the bottom of that pile, and they started showing up 2 years ago. Every bank in America wants to work with the homeowner to remedy the problem. And it's just a function of picking up the phone and facing the music and having an effective conversation with the lender. Look, I know I fell out of your good graces. I had a hardship that was going on, but things have turned around a little for me, and I believe I'm able to resume my normal payments. I just need some help with the past due amount because that's the problem that we face here in America. The average homeowner, the average family falls 2 months behind on a mortgage payment and they will never catch up.
Mm.
It's just impossible. But the reality is that just about every bank in America will offer an assistance option that will help them take care of the arrearage or the past due amount. And the fair bargain exchange is, as long as you can resume your normal payments in the next 30 to 60 days, we will help you with this past due amount. Either roll it into the existing loan, roll it into a second mortgage, and tie it onto the back end of the property. So many different ways to retain your home and get back in the good graces. And they all start with effective dialogue with your bank. And nobody wants to do that. It's not a fair fight, a big bank and the average consumer. It's intimidating and it is fear driven. And fear creates this sense of, they're paralyzed into inaction. And I really enjoy it. I enjoy talking. I don't enjoy seeing it, and it's getting worse. But I enjoy carrying on conversations with people who are in trouble. And I enjoy spending the vast majority of my time, frankly, um, helping people get out of their own way. Because that's in fact what they are, what we are when we are facing these problems. We are in our own way. And I find great strength and hope in helping people get out of their own way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So you could, your relationship with money changed once you saw it not as a status symbol, but a tool for your legacy and healing with your family. And
Sure.
now you're helping others walk through that. And are you saying that it's getting worse? Are you saying that more people are having foreclosures?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. It's about twice as much as it was last year. So last year,
Mm.
every week, about 70, 75 people were having a notice of intent to foreclose recorded on their property here in Massachusetts. And right now it's about 135 different households a week.
Mm. A
And
week.
what's troublesome, and I guess predictable in hindsight, but the vast majority of these people are people who just bought homes in 21, 22, and 23.
Mm, wow.
And they
Ouch.
are low down payment borrowers, largely with sub 600 credit scores, who were sold a home and got a mortgage product and simply couldn't keep up. I
Mm,
got one today. I met a man today who bought his home in November of 23 and just had a notice of intent to foreclose recorded on it in April of 25,
mm.
less than 2 years later.
And how many payments did he miss?
7.
Oh, well,
So
okay.
he, yeah, so he
Low.
wasn't, so he was on, he only remained current for maybe a year,
Mm,
a little less. And these are largely first-time home buyers. Um, and that it's troublesome. I hate seeing it, and because they bought at a relative height of the market where values were very high, they put very little money down. A lot of these are FHA buyers that put 3.5% down. So their equity position in the home is already very, very low. And all you have to, if you miss 7 payments, all that past due amount, it's not principal, it's just interest and junk fees. And now, if you can retain your home, they're going to take that interest and junk fee arrearage of 18 or $25,000,
mm.
tack it onto the principal balance,
Oh,
and you snap your fingers, and you got a lot of people in a negative equity position. And I'm seeing that from the ground floor.
mm.
Um, and it's troublesome. It's troublesome.
Definitely. Well,
Yeah,
just as this time of this recording, 70% of people are living paycheck to paycheck and
sure.
that they're making $100,000. Well, that used to be a lot of money, but not anymore.
Right.
The
No, not
value
even
that is
close.
diminishing, right? So,
Yeah.
what kind of rituals or daily habits have helped you rebuild your credit and your confidence from the ground up?
Oh, geez. Well, I'm a big meditator. I spend time alone by myself in the mornings every morning. I read some things that are meaningful to me. So I go through that process every morning. Um, as far as look, I respect my credit score. Right? I respect my credit score. I never really did before in my life. I never really respected it, but I certainly respect it now. I understand that you need banks in America. It's just you need them, quite simply. And your credit is one of the most important things in America that you need to protect. Um, I I came to realize, that the amount of money I need to feel okay inside is $5 more than I'll ever have. I came to realize that,
Right.
it doesn't quite chase, it doesn't, stifle the chase. I still want all the money deep down inside. It's just how I'm wired. But I understand and I accept now that there is no such thing as enough to make me feel good inside. And so, you can't fill that hole with anything, like that.
Money can't buy you love, right?
No, it can't. Yeah,
It's
no,
it's
it's
fun, but it's not the all in
it
all.
doesn't work. No,
No,
it is
no.
a conduit to convenience. That's
And
what
you're
money,
not taking it with you. So it's got to be all on the inside, the value and the worth
of
for
course.
sure. You know.
Money creates convenience in life. That's really what it creates. Money
Mhm.
can create convenience, and
Yeah.
I'm a proponent of that. I think that it's great, and I enjoy making astute financial decisions and investments, and I enjoy it. I think it's an outstanding feeling, and I certainly would never want to go back to living the way that I was. I certainly wouldn't want to do that. And a lot of people who run into these struggles haven't quite, maybe most of them haven't even quite gotten to a place where they accept a reality that they created a lot of these problems through their own actions and behaviors. You'd be amazed at how many
Crazy.
people
I know.
speak with who are still in some phase of denial or even blaming the bank. It's common. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much emotional drama that's wrapped around the money. I'm a legacy wealth strategist and talk about this for 3 decades. And And people don't want to they don't want to look at it. They don't want to talk about it. They wait till they're retired to start their retirement plan.
Yeah, right.
And it's not their fault. They've not been taught. You go to school, learn how to make money, get out of school. What do? You go make money and give it to some guy to gamble. And
Yeah.
so people don't understand. They're intimidated and they don't want anybody to know that they don't understand. It's a lot in there. Well, how do you feel like you've had a financial trauma, but it's really become a path to purpose? What
Sure.
what purpose did it reveal to you?
Um, well, it service. Service is really what I opened my eyes to in my road to recovery, right? Is to give freely what I've been taught to the next man or woman.
Right.
And that is probably the most rewarding thing I do on any given day is to help someone find a softer landing than I did when facing similar struggle. And that has become an absolute purpose of mine. There's no question about it.
So if somebody's listening right now and they're looking at that big F word, right? Foreclosure. How do they get in contact with you and find out? Maybe you help them
Sure.
walk through this process.
Yeah, they can call me. They can call me direct, 508-501-9214, and just tell me the story. That's all I really need to hear is your story and what's going on. You can go to my website, hope, the number four, hardship.org. Learn a little bit about me and the services that my team and I provide.
Awesome. Michael, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. You do a very great service, and I think you're going to get busier. There's a
Thank
lot of
you.
people, it seems so logical if you just talk to the person, right? The banker, or just
Sure.
figure it out. No,
Right.
it's amazing. People do have good hearts in there somewhere. So
Yeah.
anyway, congratulations on your triumph through all that
Thank you.
pain and reconversion, that you're taking that energy and giving back. And I hope you help millions of people.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful. It's great meeting you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Michael, thank you for sharing your powerful story. So raw, so real, so redemptive. You've shown us that even after the foreclosure sign goes up and the paperwork is filed, there is still hope, still healing, still home within ourselves. To all of our Money 911 listeners, if you're in a place of fear or financial uncertainty, know this: you are not alone. There is a path back to peace. There is no shame in starting again. Your past does not define your future, but your choices, rooted in love and wisdom, will. Until next time, I'm Kris Miller, reminding you that true wealth is built not just in numbers, but in the heart. Stay empowered, stay inspired, and remember, your legacy begins today. There's so much to learn about healthy money. I hope today's discussion brings you one step closer to securing and protecting your future. So you can get started on the right foot, go to meetwithkrismiller.com and schedule your free financial fitness strategy session. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Money 911 so you don't miss our next episode, which includes health, wealth, and peace of mind.